Welcome to Chop Shop Motors. My name is Clay, and I'd love to kick off this video giving you a little overview of what's coming in 2022. So by the time you're watching this, we're going to be into 2022. It's New Year's Eve here in Scottsdale, where there'll probably be a little lag on the videos as normal. But I want to kick off an incredibly cool project that is going to be coming your way. So I had the good fortune of crossing paths with R.T. Custer, who is partners in a company called Vortic watch, and he and his partner they basically take turn of the century watches by all kinds of companies, pocket watches, and they build a really cool case to turn them into a wristwatch. So this has been a long-term project for them. They have gone through all kinds of battles, as you can imagine, starting a small company and turning it into something, some of which are even some of the battles they had with some really big watch companies. So don't hesitate to do a little research and look up Vortic watches and find out kind of what their story is. They're an awesome group, and how we crossed paths was he's got a 49 Ford truck that has been in their family forever, and they want to use it in their company. And he and I were chatting, and before you know it, the truck is here at my shop, and we're looking at it to do a whole bunch of work to it to make it so that they can use it and it can go through a couple more generations in their family. So this truck is going to be really neat, and we're going to spend a good chunk of 2022 making it into what RT and Vortic can use in their company and will enjoy. And so I'm gonna take you around it here in just a minute and show you kind of what's going on it. It's a really good candidate. It's an F5 with all stock drivetrain and motor, transmission, rear end. It's a big truck, but big truck in 1949 terms is still probably, you know, in size-wise, it's comparable probably to a, you know, contemporary F350 kind of truck. And the cab's nice, the sheet metal's nice. It's still, they were using it up until maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, on their own family Christmas tree farm. It sounds like a kind of a Hallmark story. It's a cool story, and so it's been in use. It's not like it was you know, left abandoned somewhere, but it hasn't been driven a lot, and it hasn't been super dependable for a while. So we're going to do a whole bunch of work to it, and we're going to make everything under the hood fresh. We're going to change all of the pieces out to make it run and look good under the hood. We're going to more than likely convert it to 12 volt, even though it'll still be 12 volt generator. It should be just a touch more dependable. In the electronics department, we're going to rewire it. We're going to clean under the hood. We're going to replace all of the wear items. We're going to put brakes on it, a radiator. We're going to keep it with the green that it is. We're going to buff it out. We're going to polish it up. We're going to powder coat the wheels, put new tires on it. It's going to eventually get a really cool bed. That's going to happen in Colorado. We're going to do an interior in it, and we're going to fix whatever's not doing this truck service. We're going to fix it. So let's take a look at the truck, and I'll show you what a cool project this is going to be and let you guys get excited about it. Here we go. this Chop Shop Motors is the Vortic 49 project. What an awesome truck. Look at that face. Super straight. Probably never really had much of anything ever happen to it, from a crash kind of running into things, which is unbelievably hard to imagine for a truck of this vintage. It's got a couple little spots right around the lower grill opening that have some rust that we're going to fix, and it's got a little bit of rust in the heel of the fenders, and we're going to fix that. But we are going to do our very best. I'm going to do my very best to bring this paint back to as close as possible to what it would have looked like when it was dropped off and put into service in Pennsylvania as a Forest Service truck. So this truck did a stint in Pennsylvania, then it went to Colorado, and for being in places that potentially have that much moisture, it really is remarkable how well it endured. As far as areas that are glaringly tough to fix or that are really going to be hard projects, not too many. I mean, it's the lower fenders are going to have some attention. It's got a little Yahoo right here. It's got a little bit of rust right here. We're going to look and see kind of how much we fix and how much we don't. It's going to need glass pretty much all the way around. Inside is just the coolest green you could ever imagine. We're going to work on that and get that to all function. It's got a really cool turn signal switch mounted on the inside of the column, which is you know, kind of interesting. We'll flip it around, put it on the other side, and make that work. The pieces that we can't make work, we're going to replace. We're going to put new interior in it, new rubber mat, all new cardboard around the outside. This isn't a hot rod, so it won't get the hot rod treatment, but it'll get treated like it was a hot rod. So it's got some dents in the roof. We'll probably play with some of those and see if we can work some of those out with a wooden mallet and not have to do. We're not going to do a ton of body work on that. We're gonna keep that paint as is. If you look back here, it's got the, you know, these 48 to 52 Fords have a really cool deal. The gas tank is inside the cab, but they have a toolbox that mounts on top of the gas tank. I just think that is the coolest thing ever. So it's got the toolbox in it. It's also got the factory jack with a wing nut to hold it in place. If you can see it down there, that stuff is just so cool. I love it. And it does have a claw hammer there behind the seat, just in case you gotta do some beating on something. It's a working man's truck. It's been in service for a long time, and it's going to continue on. Like I said, it's got some wires dangling down underneath. We'll keep all those. All that wiring will come out, and we'll replace it with new. We'll keep all of the switches, like the hazard, the early 50s hazards, and some of that stuff we'll keep, just because it's so cool. We'll see kind of what makes the cut and what doesn't. Out back, it's got a Ford flatbed on it. We're going to keep that. We will pull the flatbed off. We'll straighten it up some. It's got some yahoos in it that we can fix, and then this will get sandblasted and powder coated, because they're going to put Vortic is going to put all new wood in the bed. This is on top of what's underneath that, but this is going to get replaced. This has kind of lived its life, and they're going to use this platform for trade shows and stuff. So it does have to work as it steps into its next phase of its life, but old Ford trucks don't care about that. They're happy to keep working. So it's gonna be a really cool transition. Let's take a look under the hood. Under the hood is a stock 6-cylinder 226. It does run. It really actually runs quite well. I did some messing with it when I first got it and made it so I could get it to start and move around. This is not a hop behind it and push by yourself to move from parking spot to parking spot. This truck is best moved under its own power, and so that's exactly what I did. So I got the motor running. The motor seems to run good. The gas tank is obviously dirty, and we're going to get that fixed, and the fuel pump doesn't work. What a shocker. And it's got some spark plug wires off of the miscellaneous spark plug box to get it running, but overall it works pretty good. As far as wheels and tires, the wheels will end up getting pulled off and powder coated. We'll put new tires on it. Running boards will get painted. The door is going to get we're going to get that matched. It had probably a big magnetic sign on the door, which the moisture got trapped in between there and accelerated the decay of what was left of the paint. So we'll have to do a little touch up there, but I think we're going to be fine. When it's all done, it's going to be a cool truck, and we can't wait to get started on it. I started ordering some of the motor parts, so things are going to start rolling in. So progress, it has now hit the go button, and we'll start bringing you videos on this at a pretty regular pace to show what have we accomplished, what problems did we run into, what were unsuspecting things that caught us by surprise. We're also going to change some of the lights on it. It has some contemporary turn signals and clearance lights. We'll go back to some original lights that would have been on it in 49 just to keep that look kind of strong. That is the F5. Not much more to say. Big shout out to RT for putting it in our hands to do some work on. We're excited and can't wait to bring you some videos on it. I want to catch you up on two projects and probably do a quick update video that will cover both of them. But two projects that have been happening, and we've done a little bit in the background, and you've kind of seen them, and we've talked about them a little bit. And it's probably a good time to one, kind of show you where it wrapped up at, and two, show you the progress so that you kind of see what we're doing and where we're going. So the first one is a small block Chevy 327. I think it's a 63. I looked at some old content and I've referred to it as a 62 and a 63, but I think it was a 63 327. So this block was put together out of kind of some pieces that we scrounged together, some heads from one person, a block from someone else, a crank from another party, and we really pieced together this 327 over the course of the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. We've kind of been scrounging pieces together and putting them together. So this motor is going in BW upholstery, Brian's 29 Model A sedan. And this, this project he's been working on for a couple years, and it just keeps getting nicer and nicer and nicer. And if you follow Chop Shop Motors on Instagram, you'll see a picture of the chassis we just picked up and dropped off. he had Hafele Brothers do a bunch of work on the chassis. He and a couple of his friends did a bunch of work on the chassis. So they took kind of their progress on the chassis. Brian and Jonathan had done a bunch of work on the chassis. They took that to Hafele Brothers to keep the project moving. Long story short, they got the chassis painted and reassembled. It's got a quick change in it. It's got a dropped axle. It's got some really cool 5 spokes, and the chassis. This car's going to be awesome, and he's got the body really close to being ready for paint. Hafele Brothers did the work on the body. The body was just outstanding. So, you know, a lot of us build projects and we find these carcasses that are, you know, left on the side of the road, and we drag them home and we try to make something out of them. Well, that isn't the case with this body. This body was so nice, just dead sharp. So they really started with a great candidate. Now, that doesn't mean that it didn't require a bunch of work, but it certainly means that it wasn't as far gone as some of the stuff that we've brought back. So the body is in final prep, and Brian already has the painter lined up, and I won't share who the painter is because I don't know I don't know if that's how big a secret that is. That's Brian's to share. But the painter's lined up, and this car's coming together. So that means Chop Shop Motors had to kick it in gear and get the motor done so it could go on this chassis, and they could do some of that work. So they're going to get the motor painted and set in the chassis. And I'm going to take you and give you just a real quick overview of the motor and kind of show you where it's at. And the other piece I'm going to update you on is a little bit of progress on the 32 four-door sedan. So I'll show you what I was working on, what pieces I did accomplish, and what that looks like. So we've done some more door latch work and getting some doors to work and things like that. Kind of boring and mundane, but we won't spend much time on it, and then we'll wrap this little video up. So let's take a look at this 327. This is the 327 that we've been chatting about. The work that you see is the product of Morrison Machine doing all the reciprocating. The motor's been bored 40 over. It's balanced. It has ARP mains. It has ARP rod bolts. It has a high volume pump. It's got 194 heads with stainless steel valves, new springs, new retainers, guide plates. It's got a Howard cam. It's got NOS lifters. It is a really cool little motor, and it should really be rumpy. The cam is pretty aggressive, and I can't wait to light it off. The only pieces that we're waiting for to come in are the rocker balls and rocker nuts. When they come in, I can run the valves, and this will have a dual quad Offenhauser aluminum intake on it, and it's going to be backed by 5-speed, so should be an awesome little package. I think this motor is going to be really, really fun. We built a previous motor for the car that ended up going into a different hot rod, which was a 283, and it was so much fun. This will be equally as much of a gas once we get it going. So it's got a cover over it just to keep the dust out, and other than that, I can't wait to put it in the car and light it off. and it's got replacement head bolts. All of the bolts on this particular motor have been replaced. That's one of the items that you have to be kind of careful of when you're doing these motors that have been around for a long time. A lot of times the bolts just can't continue to kind of give you the service you need. So I've replaced all of the bolts that put this together. We don't want to have an investment in the motor go down the tubes because we didn't want to spend, you know, $100 on some particular bolts. So that's kind of where we landed on this. This motor came together out of really miscellaneous spare parts in different garages. Like I said, the heads came out of one friend, the block came from another, the crank from somewhere else. Roger reconditioned all of that stuff. Happened at the machine shop. So should be a cool piece. It's, you know, small block Chevy isn't exactly not exactly uncharted territory, so I think we're being in good shape. Well, let's talk about a little progress on the 32. And it's been, like I said, a lot of times progress right now has been just little time stolen away to do little small bits and pieces, and that's exactly what this little catch-up video is gonna do for you. I put a fender on it just so that I could kind of see what the wheel tire combination was going to be like. It did make me rethink some of the items that were going to go on it. Over here is magnesium Halbrand that was slated to go on the back of this 32 project. It's too wide and too much offset to do a full fendered car, so I'll be changing gears and we'll come up probably with a steel wheel solution. I've got some 16.5 steel wheels, stock looking steel wheels for it that I'll put on the rear, and then some 16.4s on the front. So we'll go the 16 route. Pieces I was working on this were both of these doors were just tie wrapped shut and the latches didn't work. So I started pulling things apart, and this door, the latch was completely locked in the open position, so there was no latching. But back here, the light's pretty crappy, so you probably aren't going to be able to see much, but back here there's a little bit of a spring to the door. So this door obviously came back way far back and really got tweaked. So it tweaked that hinge back there when it came open and did some damage. So I did some early work on it to get the hinge back to where the door lined up like it's supposed to. It isn't perfect. We'll probably keep working on it, but it's much closer considering the body's not bolted to the chassis. So I'm not going to do much more until I get the body bolted on, even if it's only preliminary bolt down to pull off later. I'll want to have it bolted down to make sure it's right. But I pulled these latches apart, and on this particular latch, the spring that pushes this lock pawl out was broken and gone. The spring that holds this handle in detent was there, so I ordered up a new spring for this one, put it in. So now the door opens and closes like it's supposed to on the latch part, and this is, that was probably a little hard. That was, that's how it's going to be. So I kind of slammed it like I was 11 years old. The front door also had the handle twisted and the shaft was bent, and the lock assembly wouldn't work. I replaced the piece that holds it in the detent up here, and The piece that opens it was functional. So now this door is back in service. I cleaned it up and now that one works. So it sounds a little tinny, but that's because nothing's bolted down. I think once everything gets in place, it's gonna work out great. All 4 doors now open, close, and latch. So we're making some progress there. And the other update is this piece here that has a big hole in it. Santa Claus did bring me a wood kit. So, spin over here. This is the brand new wood kit to put wood in the top. So, one huge area that needs a little help is going to get fixed. And there's one other item that I got for this that I'll show you as well. Hang on one second. A set of original cow lights is the latest addition. These were given to me by Chevy for Christmas. So a little bit of Christmas cheer, moving the 32 forward. Both of them are just gorgeous. They're originals. This started out as a true hardcore hot rod. Once I put a 4-door body on it and put fenders on it, it changes the direction a little bit. And so the factory lights kind of came into play. So it is going to have the cow lights for the turn signals, and I think it's going to be pretty trick. So you guys will get to follow along on this project. This and the Vortic truck will kind of run parallel as we try to make it to Canada in July. We'll see. We're a long way away, but that's kind of the direction right now. So that was the update on the 32 and on the 327. I hope that you find it interesting. Please like, share, subscribe. We are heading into this this year with a lot of enthusiasm to get some of these projects moved forward. I'm Clay for Chop Shop Motors, and we'll see you on the next project.